Hello and welcome to today's tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll be learning how to draft the basic bodice pattern on our pattern paper. And here are the things we'll be using. We'll be using a pen or a pencil, your measuring tape, your pattern master, your scissors, your marker, and your pattern papers. So we have two pattern papers here. One will be for the front block and the other one will be for the back block. Now let us start with the front block. So the first thing to do is to determine your starting line or to draw out your starting line. You may decide to use 0.5 inch or 1 inch, but you need to draw a starting line where your measurement will be starting from. For here, I'll be using 0.5 inch, and that line will serve as our shoulder line. So let me label it as shoulder. From there, we will input all our vertical measurements, that is from the shoulder to the bust point, from the shoulder to the waistline, and then from the shoulder to the full length of the blouse we are working with. I'll take my shoulder to the bust point. It is 11 inches for the measurement I'm working with, and the waistline is 18 inches. Note, the front and the waistline are not the same. The front waistline is usually longer than the back waistline because of the bust at the front part of the body. So this is why the front waistline is usually longer than the back waistline. So the next thing is for me to input the full length of the bodies I'm working with, which is 25 inches. You can decide to do lesser, you can decide to do more, and you can decide to do exact. It's all about preference. Whatever you decide to do it, just mark out your vertical measurements and rule them out as you see me do in the video. So after marking them out, I'll label it. Our shoulder to the bust point, that will be the B. Our shoulder to the waistline, W, and the shoulder to the full length of the measurements we are working with. So after that, we go to our neck measurements. I'll be doing 3.5 inches for the width and 3.5 inches for the depth of the neck. You can decide to do 3 inches by 3 inches, which is the standard one, but because the person I'm using these basic bodies for is on a bigger size, so that is why I do 3.5 by 3.5. If the person is not on a bigger size, you can use 3 inches by 3 inches. So I will connect the lines together to form a square, so that I'll be able to use my pattern master to form the round neck for it. So after connecting the lines, I will place my pattern master. Watch carefully to see how you will place your pattern master to form the round neck. Make sure you set it on the line very well. So after connecting the round neck, the next thing to do now is to input our back measurements. The back measurements or the shoulder measurements. Check the picture below to see how to take the back measurement. I also have a video on how to take this measurement. So the back measurement, you divide it by 2. So whatever you have, you put it there. On that point, you come down by 1 inch. This is for our shoulder slope. Remember that our shoulder is not straight. Connect these lines together. After connecting the lines, the next measurement to input is your armhole measurement. So to get your armhole measurement, you take your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So whatever that gives you, you input it here. Please note, I am coming from the shoulder slant. I'm taking the measurement right from the shoulder slant down, and not from the main back, but from that shoulder slant you take it back. And once again, to get your armhole measurement, you divide your bust circumference by 6 inches plus 1.5 inches. On this point, I'll roll it out and I will label it the chest line. So after rolling it out, I will label it the chest line. So from there, I will input my bust circumference divided by 4 right on this chest line. That is where I will input my bust circumference divided by 4. So the bust circumference I'm working with is 43 inches. 43 inches divided by 4, that is 10.75. So I will input it here. So after I have input my bust circumference on our chest line, so I'll come up to this armhole length here, the armhole line, and I'll find the midpoint of my armhole line. So I'll bend over the tape to do this Then on this midpoint, I'll come in by 0.5 inches. I'll come in by 0.5 inches. Then I'll connect the lines together using my pattern master. Make sure you place the pattern master in such a way that it covers the 3 dots, that of your armhole line, the midpoint, and the bust circumference measurement on the chest line. So make sure you set your pattern master very well to cover these 3 dots, and you connect your pattern master to form your armhole curve. You connect these lines to form your armhole curve. Now, moving on, the next thing to do is to input our circumference, our bust circumference on the bust line. 43 divided by 4, you input it there. And on your waistline, you take your waist circumference divided by 4 as well. My waist circumference is 39 inches. 39 divided by 4 is 9 3/4. So I will input it here. But because we need to put that on this waist area, I will add 1 inch to it, so plus 1 inch. Then we move on to the full length of the bodice, and where we'll be inputting our hip circumference. Your hip circumference divided by 4. The hips I'm working with is 46.5 inches, so that will be 11 3/4. So that is what I will input there. So after that, I will pick up my pattern master to connect these lines together. You can see I'm using the straight part of the pattern master to connect the chest line, the bust line to the waist line, while I will be using the curvy part of the pattern master to connect from the waistline to the full length of the bodice in order to give that hip shape. You understand? After that, the next thing to work on is our darts. Yes, we need to work on our darts, and in order for you to do that, you will be needing your bust pan measurement or your nipple to nipple measurement. Whatever your nipple to nipple measurement gives you, you divide it by 2. So this is what you will input here. You input it on your waistline, on your full length, and on the bust line. Your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. You put it on your waistline, on your bust line, and on the full length. You mark 0.5 inch to the right of your nipple to nipple measurement, 0.5 inch to the left of your nipple to nipple measurement. You come down to the full length, you mark 2 inches up, and you come up to your bust line, you mark 1 inch down, so as to avoid your dart being pointy. This is why we are coming down by 1 inch from our bust point. You can watch the video carefully to get what I am saying very well. I will then connect all the lines together. Now let's take our side darts. It is also called the bust darts. On the bust point, where we have the nipple to nipple measurement, you come out by 1 inch. This is so that the bust dart can relax very well. And remember, the front waistline is longer than the back waistline. So for me, my front waistline is 18 inches, while my back waistline is 17 inches. So I'll subtract 17 from 18 inches, and I have 1 inch. So I will input 1 inch by this side. Then I'll connect it to the 1 inch I came out from the bust point in the middle. So at that side, where I input 1 inch, I'll find the middle of that 1 inch. If your front waistline is 16 inches and your back waistline is 14 inches, you subtract it from there, and whatever you have is what you will put by this side. You find the middle of it, the half of it, and you connect it to the point. So let me label it the bust dart and the waist dart while I take the explanation again. So remember, your front waistline is longer than your back waistline. So whatever you have at your front waistline, you subtract your back waistline from it. For example, if your front waistline is 16 inches and your back waistline is 14 inches, you subtract that 14 inches from 16 inches. So you have 2 inches. So whatever you have there is what you will input by this side. Then you find the middle of that bust, the middle of that difference, you put it there, and you connect it back to the bust point. I hope you understand better. Now let's remove the excess paper around. Now we are done with the front block. Let's move to the back block. If you have watched to this point, thank you for staying and subscribe to the channel. Drop your comments in the comment section on the next tutorial you would like me to work on. Now on the back block, the first thing to do as well is to draw the starting line. That is where your measurement will be starting from. The next thing is to input your zipper allowance. So for this tutorial, I'll be doing 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance. I will mark this from the starting till the full length of the measurement I'll be working with. I'll then connect the lines together using my pattern master. Please, we cannot overemphasize the importance of pattern master. It is a very useful tool. If you cannot get each of the two, go for a pattern master. It is beginners friendly tool. You can use it for curvy area, straight area, your armhole, your hip. You can use it for a lot of things. So the next thing now is to input our vertical measurements. So from our shoulder line, which is our starting line, I will label it the shoulder line. So from there we input our shoulder to bust points, shoulder to waist, and shoulder to hip line. That is the full length of the blouse, the full length of the basic bodice that you are working with. To get the full length for the back, you bring your front block and you measure from the waistline to the full length. Whatever you have there, for instance, if you measure 7 inches, it is that 7 inches that you will input on the waistline here to get the full length. I have gone ahead to mark my full length. Now it is time to go to the neck area. I'll use 3.5 inches for the width and 1 inch for the neck depth. But for the front, we use 3.5 for the neck width and 3.5 for the depth. But the back will be higher than the front. So that is why I use 1 inch for the neck depth. Now I'll use my pattern master to connect these lines together to form my round neck. Always take your time when you are using your pattern master for the round necks. Now the next thing is to input my back measurement, which is my shoulder measurement, divide by 2. I will input it here, and from there I'll go down by 1 inch, which is for my shoulder slope. From there I will input my armhole depth, which is bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. I will rule this out and label it my chest line. So on this point, what I have as my back measurement, which is 8.5, I'll go ahead to input it back again on this my chest line, and I'll connect the lines together. To meet the lines from my back, you locate the half of the armhole line. Remember, for the front armhole, we go in by 0.5 at this point, but for the back armhole, we are not going in by 0.5. We leave it as it is. This is because the back is wider than the front. So in order to remove excess clothes around the front, that is why we remove 0.5. But for the back, we need that 0.5. Then we go back to our chest line. You will input our bust circumference divided by 4. I have 43 divided by 4, which is 10 3/4. I will input this and I will use my pattern master to connect the armhole curve. I will use it to connect the 3 dots on the armhole line to make the armhole curve. Please be careful whenever you are doing this connection. So when drafting your own basic bodies, just make sure you follow the method while you are using your own measurements. Next is to input our circumference and bust circumference divided by 4, which is 10 3/4. We input it on the bust line. Then we move to the waistline. We input our waist circumference divided by 4, which is 39 divided by 4 plus 1 inch. The 1 inch is for the darts. Then we move on to the full length and we input our hip circumference divided by 4. After this, I'll use my pattern master to connect these lines together. You can see that I use the straight part of the pattern master to connect from the chest line to the waistline, while I use the curvy part of the pattern master to connect from the waistline to the hip line. This is for it to give me that curvy look around the hip area. You can see how beautiful that hip curve is. Now let me trim off the excess. Please note, when cutting the neck from the back, you cut from the zipper allowance right into the neck area. So after trimming off the excess, we can now work on our darts. Now working on the darts, to input the waist dart, we also use our nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. Please note that all measurement for the back is to be taken after the zipper line. So you input nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 on the chest line, on the waist line, on the bust line, and on the full length of the bodice. Then you connect it in a straight line. So from the hip line, you come up by 2 inches. You mark this point while you come to the waistline. From the center of the nipple to nipple point, you measure 0.5 inch to the right and 0.5 inch to the left. So remember that for the front dart, the dart did not reach the chest line, but because there is no bust at the back dart will be reaching the chest line. The dart will be starting from the chest line. So all you have to do is to take your pattern master and connect these lines together as you see me do. Watch the video carefully and replicate what you see me do in the video. We are done with our waist dart. Now the next thing for us to do is to eliminate the zipper bulge at the back. You know, at times if you check some clothing, the back of the clothes look exactly like what we have in this picture. So this is where we eliminate that bulge. You come to the waistline and you go in by 0.5 on the waistline. Then you connect it towards the end of the bodice and to the upper part of the bodice. Watch the video carefully and just replicate what you see me do there. Cut out this part, then we label it as our back, and we are done, guys. So we now bring the front block, and you will notice that the front block and the back block, the lengths are not the same. The front block is longer than the back block. So when we take the dart at the bust area, it will come to the same length. And that's it, guys. Thank you for watching, guys. See you in the next one.